But just like all of the speakers, listen to what they have to say. Never give up on your dreams. Dream big. Don't let anybody steal your dreams. Each of you can do whatever you want to do. And that's the whole purpose of having our speakers here 8 or 9 times a year, is so that you all can begin thinking about what you want to do when you get out of high school, when you get out of college, when you get out of graduate school. So that being said, I want to introduce you to Rafael Anchia, who's a former DISD school board member and who's been a state representative now 12 years, 10 years, getting ready to go on his next term. So without further ado, this is Rafael Anchia.
So let me tell you a little bit about me, and then I want everybody to be able to ask questions and let me know what's on your mind. But again, my name is Rafael. Any other Rafaels? Any tocayos in the audience? Any other Rafas? No? No tocayos? Okay, okay. There's usually 1 or 2 Rafael. Any Rafaelas? No? Sometimes you'll find a Rafaela. Let me see if I think we've got a lot of things in common. First of all, how many people were either born outside of the United States or their parents were born outside of the United States? Okay, good. Yeah. Same here. See, my parents are from other countries, so I'm considered the son of immigrants or a first-generation American. My mother is from Mexico City. Are anybody else's parents from Mexico City? Anybody else? Okay, so yeah, a lot of Chilangos here in the house. That's good. And my father is from a little village in northern Spain called Marquina. So he was the son of sheep herders. There was a civil war in Spain, and that's why my dad's family and part of my mom's family had to leave, because they were on the losing side of the war. The military in Spain had taken out the democratically elected government. So we'll talk about what a democratically elected government is in a minute. So they had to leave their country. So for those of you who may be immigrants or the sons and daughters of immigrants, I've lived a very similar story. In fact, I went to a school just like San Jacinto Elementary in Miami, Florida. It was called Everglades Elementary because it was located in really what was the edge of the Everglades, where a lot of the new immigrants would settle in Miami, Florida. And I went to public school my whole life. Then I got a big break when I was a senior in high school, and that's I got a scholarship to SMU. Has anybody ever been on SMU's campus? It's here in the Dallas area, and I went to that school without ever having been to Dallas. I had never been here before, and I had never been, in fact, I had never been west of Orlando or Tampa, Florida at the time. So it was a really new experience for me. What do you think I was feeling like when I left home at 17 years old? What do you think that felt like? Yes, sir. What's your name? One more time.
My name is Blessing.
Blessing? What do you think it felt like for me to leave
I think
home?
you felt nervous and scared.
Yeah.
Because you didn't really know nobody.
In fact, I was so nervous and scared. I was so nervous and scared for a lot of different reasons, because I was worried about leaving my parents, right? My abuelita, who lived next door. I was worried about a new experience in a community that I had never been to. You know, and I was worried about little things sometimes too, because I didn't own any luggage at the time, right? So I was worried how I was going to get my stuff into the luggage to then take on a plane. So we went to a place called La Pulga. Does anybody know what that is? Yes, all right, all right. So there's some pulga shoppers here. The pulga is the flea market, right? In Spanish, you might call it el pulguero or la pulga, which means the flea, right? So we went and we bought a big suitcase where I put most of my possessions in, and I came to Dallas. And when I came to Dallas, the place was very different than it is today. As I look around this room, you all are the future of Dallas. And the Dallas of when I came to school was very, very different. There were very few people who speak Spanish. Who speak Spanish here? Okay. All right. Yeah. And there were very few people who were from other countries, and Dallas is a much more international place today. So that was my experience, and I worked really hard in college. I mean, in fact, one time I even had, and I know you all don't have boyfriends and girlfriends, but when you're in college you might. I had a girlfriend who broke up with me because I didn't want to go to a dance. I instead wanted to study for a test because I needed to do that really well in that test to go to law school. And she broke up with me. She was so offended. Isn't that terrible? But the moral of that story is it was really important for me to study because I wanted to make my parents proud. And sometimes, you know, people don't like it when you have to study, right? But it's really important. And I was able to get a good score on that test and then go to law school in New Orleans, Louisiana. So I started as a lawyer when I was 24, and now I'm not going to say, but it's 21 years, and you all can do the math. And then about 10 years ago, there was an opportunity to run for public office. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean running like I'm doing now? I'm going to run for public office? Yes, sir. Yeah, blessing, right?
Yes, you're in a campaign.
You're in a campaign. And what does that mean? What does a campaign mean? Yes, blessing?
A debate.
Part of it. A debate can be part of a campaign, right? So, what's your name? Elizabeth, right? Did you say Elizabeth?
Uh-huh.
Come stand next to me, please. All right, don't be nervous. So Elizabeth, let's say Elizabeth and I are interested in serving the community, right? There's a lot of things that we care about. Let's say we were going to have an election for this school. Who was going to be the student leader of this school? We know we have an academic leader in the principal, but let's say a student leader. We would each do a campaign. And what do you think we would do in that campaign?
Compete?
We would compete. Precisely, we would compete to see who would win. Now, would it be a nasty campaign?
No.
Would I say that, ooh, don't vote for her, she has mocos? No, we wouldn't say that. She really doesn't have mocos. No, we would have a friendly campaign, and we'd talk about, what do you think you would talk about if you were running for office? If you were doing, to be the leader, what would you say to these folks who are going to vote for you?
To get a pool?
Oh, so, okay, so she went hard immediately, something that'd be very difficult for me to compete with, but she says we'd get a pool here at the school, right? So, you know, so you'd make certain promises about what the things that you want to change, right? And what else would you talk about? Would you introduce yourself to your colleagues? What would you, so you would talk about yourself. You'd say who you are, where you came from, and what you want to do, right? Let's give Elizabeth a big hand. Thank you for standing up. Talk to people and you'd go and you say, hi, my name is Rafael, I love the Jets and it's great to see you, and you'd meet people and you shake their hand and then you'd kiss babies and then you'd try to explain to people what you have to offer, right? She beat me to the punch and she said she wants to work hard to raise money for a pool here at the school. I don't know if I could beat that. She'd probably win, in fact. Yes.
You can beat that by saying an indoor pool.
What's your name?
Edward. You can
Edward.
beat that by saying an indoor pool because nobody's swimming in the winter.
All right, so he points out maybe and this happens in politics all the time. Well, she said a pool, I say an indoor pool that's heated with piranhas in it, and sharks. No, that's a bad idea? You think that's a bad idea? Okay, because maybe we couldn't swim in it, but it'd be a cool aquarium. So anyway, you talk about the things that you'd want to do. Now, in some cases, I don't think I could deliver an indoor heated pool because that's kind of expensive, right? So it'd be tough for me to make that promise, but I might try to promise other things. Maybe that I'd promise that we'd all work together to raise money doing car washes or a bake sale so that we can get enough money to send one of our colleagues to Washington, D.C. to a program called the Close-Up Program that takes you through the halls of Congress and introduces you to political leaders, etc. Maybe we do something like that. Or maybe we would set up a pot of money to paint one of the rooms for moms who want to come and volunteer at the school. Maybe we do something like that. But there are any number of ideas. So when I ran for the school board, I looked around and I said, okay, I have a certain skill set. I've been a lawyer at that time for about 10 years. I'm the son of immigrants. I speak English y también hablo español. Maybe I have those things to offer to make DISD a better place. And so I signed my name to run for office. And I did exactly what Lisbeth and I just did right now. So you go door to door and you ask people to vote for you. And then what is this whole vote thing about? Do you know what a vote? Well, what is vote? Yes, ma'am. Blessing, I'll come back to you in a minute, but I want to ask this young lady, what's your name?
My name is Cindy.
Cindy.
And vote means when people submit their choice of who they want to win.
I love that word, submit. Yeah, submit's a very sophisticated word. It's much better than just give. Submit is actually precise in this situation. They submit their choice because you actually do hand it over, right? Typically in via a computer touchscreen or in an actual ballot that you feed into a machine. and that's your vote. So how old do you have to be to vote? Now we're going to do some civics. Yes, Elizabeth?
18.
18, yes. And what are some of the other qualifications to vote? You have to be 18. What else?
You have to have your ID.
Now you have to have your ID. That's right. You have a photo ID. It's a law I fought against for a long time. So yes, you present your ID. What else? Yes, Elizabeth?
You're not supposed to be an immigrant?
Well, you can be an immigrant, okay? But I think you're on the right track and you're thinking about this correctly. You can be an immigrant, but you actually must have gone through the process to be a U.S. citizen. So my daddy, who just turned 77 in December and has been in this country since the mid-50s, became a U.S. citizen last month, right? For the first time, because he really wanted to vote in this upcoming election cycle. So he became a U.S. citizen. Before, he was just a Spanish citizen. So now he's a U.S. citizen, and he can vote. So even though he was an immigrant from another country, he went through the process of becoming a citizen of the United States and now is able to vote. What else? What else impacts your ability to vote? Sometimes when you commit a crime, that right to vote is taken away from you. So if you've committed a felony in the state of Texas, you lose your right to vote unless you petition to get it back after you've served your sentence, okay? So that's another qualification that you need. So another reason not to commit felonies, right? If you didn't need, if all the other reasons weren't enough, you actually lose your right to vote in many cases by committing a felony. So now that we have our right to vote and we've talked about it, you can run for a number of different offices. What are some of the different offices that you've heard of in your mind, or that you've heard of and you have in your mind? Yes, sir.
The president.
You can run for President of the United States. Who's the President of the United States? Very good, everybody. Yes, ma'am. You can run for U.S. Senator. How many U.S. Senators from each state? 1. Blessing? How many U.S. Senators from each state?
3.
3? It's between 1 and 3.
2.
There are 2 U.S. Senators from each state. So if there are 2 U.S. Senators from each state, and there are 50 states, how many senators do we have total? How'd y'all get that so fast? 50 times 2? Okay, okay. Use your times tables. Yes, ma'am. What's your name?
Tanisha.
Tanisha? Yes, you had a comment.
100.
100. Very good. Thank you for raising your hand. Very, very good. How many members of Congress? Now, this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one. Hands up. Raising your hands. Yes, sir.
6.
There are more than 6 members of Congress. There are probably 6 members of Congress just from Dallas County. We're shooting a little bit low. So the total number of congresspersons is 435. Yes. Where do members of Congress go to pass laws?
Houston?
Not Houston. Raise your hand. Yes, ma'am. Washington, D.C. Correctamundo. So Washington, D.C. is where those 100 senators and 435 members of Congress all go together to pass laws. What does it take to be elected? Taylor. Hard work. Yes. Blessing.
A good campaign.
A good campaign.
Promises.
It takes promises, right? What happens if you make promises and you don't live up to those promises?
No one trusts you.
Yeah, no one's going to trust you. Brilliant. That's exactly right. So if I say, I promise that I'm going to deliver a swimming pool here at San Jacinto for the Jets, and it's going to be heated, it's going to have a super big slide and a diving board, and we'll throw in some lifeguards to boot. And what if 1 year passes, and 2 years passes, and 3 years pass, and nothing happens? Are you going to trust me? No. No. And that's something that is really, really important when you run for office, because what you're asking, in my case, I'm asking 176,000 people in the district that I represent, who are friends and neighbors. I'm asking them to trust me to go down to Austin and vote. And you're going to see this when you all go down to Austin, how I vote. And I hope you all go to my desk. It's 147 is the number on my desk. Remember that number on the House floor. You'll see how I vote, and I can press 3 buttons. What do you think the 3 buttons are? Someone who hasn't spoken yet. Yes, sir. What's your name?
Joshua.
Okay, Joshua. What do you think the 3 buttons represent?
I think one is vote for them or disvote for them or something like don't ask me again or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you can vote for something, which is the button that has the green light. You can vote against something, and what color button do you think that is? Red, yeah, it has the red light. And then you can vote what's called a white light. It says, I have no opinion, or I'm really not interested in this subject matter, or boy, it's so controversial, I can see both sides of this issue, and I'm going to vote a white light because I don't know which is the right thing to do. Remember we said there were 435 members of the Congress? Yes. How many members of the State House of Representatives? Like, that's the chamber that I'm in. Blessing. 500. There are less. So it's a lot fewer than Congress. We're actually 150. How many members of the Senate? This is a super duper trick question.
6.
6. It's a little bit more than that. There are actually 31. 30. Who would have ever dreamt of putting 31 in the Constitution? But that's the number 31. So how many members of the legislature? Yes, sir, with the glasses. And your name is? Larry. Excellent. Sorry, Larry.
181.
181. Very good. Very good. And since y'all are going to be coming down to Austin, you're going to see the Capitol building. And the Capitol building, here's a little fact about the Capitol building. It is about 1 meter or 1 yard higher than the United States Capitol building. And why is that? It's because we just do everything bigger here in Texas. That's the reason, right? And there's a statue on the top of the Capitol, and she's a goddess. Does anybody have an idea? Faculty? The goddess of liberty. The goddess of liberty represents what? Freedom. Excellent, excellent. What does freedom mean?
Where you can do anything you want and nobody have to tell you anything.
Okay, where you do everything you want and nobody has to tell you anything is the answer. I think we can amend that slightly. I think it's correct. But it's where we all agree to a common set of rules and we vote those rules in. So you can't, can I do everything I want right now? No, I sure can't, because I'm in the principal's school and I've got to ask the principal for permission. Can you all do what you want in class? No. It's where we all get together and agree on a set of rules that's going to guide all our behavior and give us as much liberty as possible within those rules. That's really what it's about. That's what your freedom is about. It's not that you can just do everything you want, because there are always limits. It's what limits we agree on and how we agree on them. And if we agree on them fairly, through a democratic process, through votes and through representation, thumbs up. Now, if I just got up and I said, well, I'm going to be a dictator, and I'm going to dictate to everybody what they need to do, and you got to come ask me for permissions. You're not involved in making the rules. I make the rules. Does that sound like freedom? No. But there are a lot of leaders around the world who do it that way. And so, back to, since we've talked about the members of the legislature and how many there are, what are some of the things they vote on? Yes, ma'am. We vote on schools, right? And what we do at the state level is we say, okay, we've got this big pot of money. How much of this money is going to go to schools and our public school system? And does it take money to run schools? Certainly does. What can that money be used for? 80% of it is used for people, because we have to pay people, because we want good teachers and we won't want our teachers to leave and go to other professions. So we need to pay our teachers. We need to pay our principals. And we need to buy supplies, right? All of those things. So we take a certain percentage of our budget and we say, this is for schools. And then we take another piece of our budget for what? What else is really important? Blessing. Yeah, for the community. And what kind of, when you all look around the community, what are some of the needs you see? Yes, ma'am. More parks. Excellent, excellent. We had another hand up over here. Yes, sir, you had your hand. What are some of the things, when you look around the community, what are some things you think we need?
Safety.
Yeah, public safety. So I'm a lawyer with the biggest firm in Dallas. It's called Haynes and Boone. And my practice, and in the law we just call it practice, right? Because you're never done, you're always practicing. Our practice is I help businesses find money in order to grow, typically. I do a lot of finance. Sometimes I'll represent the people with the money, like a bank, who is loaning the money to another party. Other times I will represent the party who is borrowing the money, right? For a particular reason. It's usually so that they can grow their business. That's my law practice. And I will say the more gratifying part of my life is the public service. As you guys identified, many of the issues in the community that are big needs, those are the same needs that I perceive. Who thinks it's a good idea to help others? Okay, so that's a concept that we agree on, right? We think it's important to help others. So one way to help others is by running for office. That's one way. But there are many other ways to help others. Can you help people in church?
Yes.
Yeah, right? That's another place you can help people. How about in your neighborhood? Right? Maybe sometimes you help a neighbor. If a neighbor's sick, you bring over a plate of enchiladas or fajitas, and you say, here, we know you can't cook for yourself because you're sick or you just had a baby and you're in bed right now, but look, we're going to help. Who else? What other, let me refine the question. What other adults in this room do public service that don't have to run for office? Who? Teachers. My mommy was a teacher for 35 years in public school. And she used to teach bilingual and ESL in first grade. And I always thought she was a public servant. So now let's talk about what y'all need to be doing.
You need education.
You need an education. Very good answer. Yes, ma'am. And you need a diploma. So what we really need from you is to be excellent. Right? So what does being excellent mean? Do what you're supposed to do. Yes, that's part of being excellent. So when you have a test, you don't go to the dance. You study for the test, right? You do what you're supposed to do. And and there are consequences to that. In my case, there were some consequences to that. But you do what you're supposed to do. But it's not just doing what you're supposed to do. Because what if you told me I had to come speak up here, and I just said, all right, fine. Let's go ahead. Let's speak. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm here. So what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to try hard, right? So it's not just doing what you're supposed to do, it's just doing your best. Doing your best. And in your mind, checking yourself, am I doing my best? And if there's a reason why I'm not doing my best, how can I do my best? I'm going to try to dress my best. I'm going to try to do my best. So let's keep that in mind as you're dealing with your teachers, you're dealing with your parents. You always ask yourselves, am I doing my best? We don't need you to be perfect. Sometimes you'll try to do your best and you will fail. I promise you, you will fail in this life. The best hitter in baseball fails 70% of the time. So you will fail. But if you go up to bat every time and you try your best, that's what we need. Because we need for you to be excellent. Thank you very much for your attention today.